So hello guys. As part of our project component 4, we were asked to develop a simple mobile application to work with the server-side code. And for this, we have developed a frequent flyer application where it contains all the details of the passengers whoever travel under their program. To develop this application, the tools which we have used are the SQL Developer, NetBeans, Apache Tomcat Server, and the Android Studio. I, Sai Kiran Vasa, along with my partner Anurag Reddy, we have developed a project and we would like to show you all the details regarding that. Now, my partner will take over and explain you the details.
Hi, this is Anurag. So I'll be explaining all the steps regarding this project. First, we'll be creating a frequent flyer database and insert some values in each table so that you can get an idea of what's going on in the initial steps. Firstly, we'll be creating the tables. So these are some queries which we have used for creating the tables. Along with that, we have inserted quite a few values so that we can dry run the code and we can use these values while executing the program. After this, we'll be going on to the NetBeans page where we have executed the Java code regarding this JDBC connection. So there are 7 steps involved in the JDBC. The first step being importing the packages. So we have used these packages for this project. And the second step being loading and registering the driver class. So this is a syntax for the load and register step. After that, we have created the connection for the JDBC. And for that, we have used this syntax, which takes in 3 parameters. The first one being the host name, which we have stored under the URL. And the second one being the username. And the third one being the password. After that, we have the third step is creating as a statement. This is a syntax for creating the statement. And the next step being executing the query. So for this, we can use any query we want. For this, I have used the simple select star from login query. The next step being running the query. So after running the query, we'll be getting quite a few results. So the second last step will be loading the results. After the results are formed, we'll be just closing down the program so that it doesn't get any bugs or it doesn't create any unnecessary problems for the query. After that, if we make any changes regarding this process, for updating the new thing, we'll have to clean and build the whole project again. So we just go to the components and click the button. After that, we'll be navigating through the path of the clean and build. We'll be going on to the documents. We'll be navigating to the NetBeans folder through the login page, and we'll be deleting the old login.class file and updating it with the new login.class file. After that, we'll be pasting that in the Apache Tomcat server folder to move on to the next page. These are the outputs for the various JSP pages we have used. These are the code. This is the code, and for the various JS pages we have been using, and the only difference with all these pages are the queries. We have used a few queries to demonstrate what we have been using in this project. For example, we have used the distinct query here. And for the rest of the queries, we have made quite a few minor changes, but all of them are different in each case. After that, these are the outputs for the programs we just mentioned. We have just shown you. Each query gives on their respective outcomes. So we are navigating through each tab to display each result respectively. So my teammate Vasa will carry on with the next part.
So till now we have seen how to develop the server side code. Now to implement this into a mobile application, we are using the Android Studio app. Let me take you to through a tour of this. So initially I have taken or considered 6 activities to develop this project, where in the main activity or the first part will be the login page, and let me show you the layout for that as well. Okay, meanwhile I'll just go through the code. So we are creating the instances for all the edit text and the buttons which we have already drag and dropped onto the layout, and then we'll be writing the code for the action that needs to be done when the button has been clicked. And Android Studio will help us by giving almost all of the code, and just we need to write the implementation part which we want it to be done. And for me, we just need to initiate a request queue so that it will be passed into it, and then we are initiating a string request in which the parameters are the get method and the URL and a new response listener. And the URL being from we'll be taking the URL from the output which we have got from the previous JSP pages, and then based on that response we'll be breaking down the string and then storing the values. So this is the simple layout for our login page. Username and password are the two labels, and then we are adding two edit text files as well, and also a button. Then to move on to the next page, we have created an intent object here, and we are also passing the passenger ID and the username of this particular person into the next activity as well. So this is my main activity too, and this being the layout. So for this layout we have a couple of buttons and an image view and a few text views as well. So we'll be creating the instances for all of these, and then we'll initiate the request queue again here for this particular page. And to display the image, this is what the code looks like. Then we'll be, as usual, we'll be writing the code which needs to be done when the particular buttons on this page has been developed. And for each page I have created different instances, and also they'll be using different URLs. You can see the redemption button, it will navigate me to the main activity 5, as you can see here. And also I'm adding the passenger ID as an put extra so that I can utilize the passenger ID in those pages as well. And when I move to the third activity, and to know where main activity 3, it is regarding all the flight details. And under this you can see the how the output is being split and stored in the strings, and then finally it's displayed. Then main activity 4. Now under this page we'll have a spinner object, and also we'll be displaying the details of the flight, of that particular flight. Let me show you the layout of how it's done. As you can see here, we are having a spinner object, and when the particular object in spinner is selected, we want its value like departure time, arrival date and time, the miles and the trip ID and the trip miles of that particular flight to be displayed under each text view respectively. And for that we have already developed a JSP page, and we are just using the string URL of that page and adding it to the string request here. And based on the out given, we'll be creating a spinner set on selected item listener, and from that we'll be getting the output, or else you can select that item and that will be passed as a URL, the parameter for the next URL which we'll be using to obtain the flight details of that particular selected flight. Next, we move on to the next page, which will be regarding our redemption details. Here, this spinner contains all the award IDs relating to that particular user. And when his award ID is being selected, the output which we need are the description of that particular award and the points required to utilize that. And if the user, if he has already utilized it before, then what date did he use that and at which center. These details will be displayed in this the last text field. And for this, the code which we have used is as follows. It's the same everywhere. First, we'll be writing the declaration, and then we'll be linking it to the text views or the spinners which we have drag and dropped in the layout. And then we'll be writing the URL, which will be using it in the string request. And then on the response, we'll just split the string which we have already will be getting as an output from our JSP pages. Then we'll be adding it to our adapters. We'll be adding it to our spinner using an array adapter. And then it's the same as the before page. We'll be adding the spinner, and then based on the option which we have selected from the spinner, that item will be sent as a parameter to the next URL, and also the passenger ID which we are getting it from the first or the second activity, that will be used here. Then again, based on the result which we can see it in the our JSP pages, a comma and hashtags are used to separate these rows and columns respectively. So based on that, we'll be mentioning for the Java code to split the code whenever there's a hash or a comma. Then the values are displayed in their respective text fields. And finally, the transfer points page, where a particular person or a particular passenger, he can transfer few points or the number of points whichever he want. He can transfer them to a particular user ID. Even for this, we have already developed the JSP pages, and it's the same which I have already mentioned before. Just declaring those things, then initiating the string request, splitting the output based on the rejects. Mainly, we have used the hashtag whenever we need to break a line. So that's why it's always the same for us. And then adding the items to the spinner using an array adapter. And then, to display that the points are successfully transformed or, successfully transferred, we have used a toast. A toast is used to display a message which lasts for a very few seconds, which I'll be showing you now. Now, let me run my emulator to show you the output. So we can actually use a physical device for this. And if you're not having those, we can actually develop an emulator like this. You can create it in the Android Studio itself. Now the app gets launched. You just need to remember a few username or passwords, which, as I was shown earlier. If you don't remember that, then just you can use your queries. As you can see, I have I'll be using the first person username and password. No, the username and the password. It will be taking the values which we give in as our inputs. It's the password. So when I press the login button, it should take my parameters, the username and password, and it should send it to the string URL. And then that URL will be passed into the string request, and that JSP page will be running and giving me the details. As you can see, this is my main activity too, where it shows welcome back and then the username, and also it will be displaying the number of points that I currently have. And let's go through all these options which I have here. First, the flight details. You know, as you can see, based on my flight which I have selected, it displays its departure date and time, arrival date and time, the miles, the trip ID, and the trip miles. Spinner, and you have another flight as well. If I select that, then you can see that all the values have been updated. Let me show it that to you again. Next, going through this button, when you select the all flights button, it displays all the flight values or the flight IDs, the flight miles, and the destination of that particular passenger. Now the redemption information. This particular person has utilized only an award ID, that is 263, and you can see the description, number of points required, and he has already redeemed it once. This is his redemption history related to this particular award ID. Next, the transfer points. Suppose I want to transfer to passenger ID 10. Let the number of points be 50. You just press this button. You can see 50 points transfer successfully. This is a toast. It is used to display these messages. And finally, the exit button, which is used to log out from our account. And that's it. So this is our project. We have shown you how the tables have been created, and then we have gone through the JSP pages which we have used based on our client's requirement. Then we have already shown you how the servlet class needs to be clean and built every time whenever you make some changes. And then we have shown you the Java code for which we have used it in the application development, and also the output. Even you can try multiple emulators in that. It always depends on the client's requirement. And so that's it. Here we would like to conclude our project. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.